The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Chapter 15, verses 1 to 3 and 11 to 32. The tax collectors and the sinners were all seeking the company of Jesus to hear what he had to say, and the Pharisees and the scribes complained. "This man," they said, "welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he spoke this parable to them. A man had 2 sons. The younger said to his father, "Father, let me have the share of the estate that would come to me." So the father divided the property between them. A few days later, the younger son got together everything he had and left for a distant country, where he squandered his money on a life of debauchery. When he had spent it all, that country experienced a severe famine, and now he began to feel the pinch. So he hired himself out to one of the local inhabitants, who put him on his farm to feed the pigs, and he would willingly have filled his belly with the husks, and the pigs were eating, but no one offered him anything. Then he came to his senses and said, "How many of my father's paid servants have more food than they want, and here am I dying of hunger. I will leave this place and go to my father and say, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as one of your paid servants.' So he left the place and went back to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with pity. He ran to the boy, clasped him in his arms, and kissed him tenderly. Then his son said, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the calf we have been fattening and kill it. We are going to have a feast, a celebration, because this son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now the elder son was out in the fields, and on his way back, as he drew near the house, he could hear music and dancing. Calling one of the servants, he asked what it was all about. 'Your brother has come,' replied the servant, 'and your father has killed the calf we had fattened, because he has got him back safe and sound.' He was angry and refused to go in, and his father came out to plead with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I have saved. Look, all these years I have slaved for you, and never once disobeyed your orders. Yet you never offered me so much as a kid for me to celebrate with my friends. But for this son of yours, when he comes back after swallowing up your property, he and his women, you kill the calf we had been fattening. The father said, My son, you are with me always, and all I have is yours. But it is only right we should celebrate and rejoice, because your brother here was dead and has come to life. He was lost and is found. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Dear brothers and sisters, if you look in the whole history of Israel, you will come to know that the Israelites were always guided by the prophets, the messengers of God, because they were the community that needed God's assistance. They were enslaved in Egypt, and they were the people who were easily exiled. When need came for material things and food, they easily got angry because their situations were very critical. But God saved them from all these difficulties of slavery. Even if they had gone away and worshipped other gods, God brings them back to Himself. And when they converted their lives, changed themselves, and returned, God forgot all that they had done against Him and embraced them back to receive them back with Him. This is the mercy of God. When we see the people of Israel reach Canaan and begin to celebrate the Passover, this Passover means that they are celebrating their hard work, the grains that they have received from their hard work, the first crop. There they remember the mercy of God, God's love. The people who were set free by God are now celebrating their freedom. And there we see, after reading from Hosea, in 2 Corinthians, St. Paul reminds that we all are children of God. We all become children of God through Jesus Christ. When we submit ourselves to Jesus, we are transformed people, we are different people, we are changed people, and we take part in His resurrection. And Jesus gives us a beautiful example when people grumble and say, this person who calls himself Son of God is always with tax collectors and sinners. Jesus gives them an example about the prodigal son, who goes to his father and says, Father, give me my share. It was not easy for the father to give share, because it is not traditional to give the share to the son when he is alive. When the father is dying or is dead, the property is divided among the two or the three. It was something unusual to give the property, but the son must have been very stubborn, who wanted to take the property and live by himself. But to his misfortune, when he goes out with all his property and money, he gets many friends who ruin his life. And finally, he is left to look after the pigs. And when no enough food is given to him, he even picks up food from the pigsty. And he begins to think at that time, at the critical stage, in my father's house there are so many servants and slaves. They get good food to eat. They're happy and joyful. Why don't I go back and tell my father that I am not worthy to be your son, but receive me as one of your servants? When he is marching very sadly towards his home, as he is nearing, the father goes running towards him and embraces him. And at that time he calls all his servants and says, "Come on, let us celebrate. Put on the robe, put on the ring. My son who was lost is found. He who was dead is now alive." My dear friends, this is the attitude of God. We only need to take a step. Our Father will take 100 and 1,000 steps towards us. During this time of Lent, we are called to do this. But let us not have the attitude of the elder brother, who when he was in the fields and returns back, sees all the celebrations and meets a servant on the way and asks, "What is this noise?" He said, "Your father is celebrating the return of your brother. He has come back." And he is so angry, saying, "I have been like a slave to you, working for you days in and out. You never gave me a kid, a goat, to go and celebrate with my friends." And the father immediately replies, "My son, all that is here is yours. Everything belongs to you. You are the owner. But this son who was lost is found. He who was dead has returned." We need to celebrate. Yes, my dear friends, the return of one sinner, God is rejoicing. Return of you and me from bad life to good is a joyful event, a joyful day in our families. If we have lost our own brother and sister, maybe in drugs, in sinful life, and we keep on praying and praying and praying, and when the person comes back miraculously, returns back, giving up all the evil ways, we are very happy, we are very joyful, and we celebrate. So too, my dear friends, during this time of Lent, let us make an attempt to change from stubborn ways to good, from evil ways to good, from hurting ways to good, from causing harm to others to good, from every evil thought, from evil mind and evil action.